Now, the reason why I know more about ancient religions or different religions is frankly because I don't find the Judeo-Christian religion all that interesting. I really don't. It's a desert religion. It has nothing to do with my life. And not only that, it has nothing to do with my ancestry. My ancestors didn't grow up in the fucking desert. It has nothing to do with my DNA. I don't understand how it became so goddamn popular in the first place. It's really wild. All right, 23 questions about hell.
But if you want nothing to do with God, you want to deny him, there is a place prepared that has nothing to do with him. God gives man a choice because that's what love does. It gives a choice. He is the only way. There is no other way. I don't care what you're raised with. Jesus, there's one way.
Seems a bit limiting, my opinion.
I share an experience I had on November 23rd, 1998 that forever changed my life. It doesn't matter if you believe my experience. What matters is that you check out what God has to say about hell and avoid it just the same. This was not a near-death experience. This was an out-of-body experience that comes under the classification of a vision in the Bible. I landed in a prison cell in hell. I looked up and I saw these two enormous beasts in the cell. I didn't realize what they were yet. They were demons, but they were reptilish in appearance, bumps and scales all over the one's body.
Oh, we met Gary!
At that moment, grabbed me
Or Ralph, actually.
Now it was God, but I didn't realize that then. And
Didn't know he was talking about you.
This raging pit of fire that was about a mile across. And I looked through the flames, and this is where I could first see people. Because he went to the cross, I didn't have to go to that place. Hell was prepared for the devil and his angels. But man will go there if he chooses to reject the only provision for our sin, which is Jesus Christ. I wouldn't want to go back there for 5 seconds. If anybody could see it for just that amount of time, they would change real quick. Hell is a real place. You want to avoid it at all costs.
What about hope? Was there any hope?
There was no hope whatsoever.
Oh, look at this.
None.
Pat Robinson's
And that's probably the
interviewing
worst
him.
part.
I know Bill, I know his character, I know his integrity, and from many people around him that knew him before we even met, so I absolutely believed him.
Why did God make such a horrible place? Well, you know, you would say man is mean, the leaders of our country are mean because they made prisons.
Right.
You don't have to go there. It's your choice. There is a right and a wrong, and
Unless you like to smoke weed. His experience changes lives. His story has an impact.
Give him a praise. Yes! Give him the praise. Give Jesus the praise.
Give Jesus the praise. Give me your money.
This prayer.
If you mess up in sin, don't ever run away from God. Jesus said, I will never leave you, nor forsake you.
Well, that's very comforting.
Questions About Hell provides short and concise answers to some difficult spiritual questions and comes with a bonus DVD of Bill sharing his visit to hell, various interviews, and more.
Yeah, we got the book. We got the DVD. We were just watching it on YouTube. 23 questions about hell. Harry and I, we went to the public library was having a book sale today, and I saw this and I picked it up. So you watched the whole DVD, right? Yeah. So what'd you think of it?
Mass hypnosis.
Mass hypnosis.
He followed the tradition of what the religion is, Judeo-Christian in this country.
Yeah.
Do I believe he went to hell? Well, it's not important for me to believe he went. If he did, he should have. He's showing his experience.
Well, you're right. I think what it comes down to is he believes he went to hell. And that's important. And what's more important than that is that the people who spend money on his garbage also believe that he went to hell. That's very important, too.
Well, yeah, the question is, the bottom line is, what is your belief? Now, we know for a fact that people are looking for a way out of misery, and they want to buy hope.
Yes.
You can't buy hope.
Right. But everybody wants to believe that you can, because it's a lot easier to throw money at something than it is to gain meaning in your life, which is the only thing that'll give you hope.
Here's the point of us going to the library to buy these books. This is my addiction. Books are my addiction.
You're a bibliophile.
And this, I will read other people's material. Not necessarily I will agree with them, but I will at least open up my mind and be open enough to hear what they say.
Right.
I may not agree with you at all, but that's the way it is.
You know what's interesting to me about this whole thing with, hey, I had an out-of-body experience and I went to hell, and you're going to have to avoid hell. And, good way to do that, of course, is to support my ministry. And it's like George Carlin said, God's all-knowing and he's everywhere all the time and he knows everything, but he always needs your money. He's very bad with money, just can't get a grip on money.
It's like watching a horror show. You want to be scared, but you know you're not scared.
Kind of, yeah, I guess. And I mean, the old school fire and brimstone preachers, they kind of played upon that. I don't think there was anybody who went to, an old Quaker service or something that thought that they were actually one of the ones that were going to go to hell, that they were not yet saved, but best to go to church every Sunday and give money just to be sure. You don't want to gamble.
To all kinds of services. I've been to the Quakers, I've been to Shambach, Fire and Brimstone, I've been Presbyterian, I've been to all kinds of services. Mm-hmm. People speaking in tongues, which scares some people because they don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
But I went there with an open mind, and I learned from it.
Well, let me ask you a question. What exactly do you learn from... I'll attend... I have very strict rules about what type of service I will attend as far as religious service goes. It has to be aesthetically inspiring. And if I get bored even for a second, if I'm not having a transcendent experience, I'm out. I mean, I'm going to leave. And the reason why is, a YouTube video has to hook me in the first 30 seconds. Otherwise, I'm changing to something else. So why would I give the benefit of the doubt to a religious service? So as far as Christian services go, typically I'll only go to Catholic services, and it has to be in a beautiful church, and they gotta have the whole thing. I want the costumes, I want the incense, I want the Latin, I need the whole 9 yards, and you gotta serve me some wine. If you're not serving booze at your service, I'm out. And I think that's fair. I deserve, for whatever I decide to put in the collection plate, I deserve to be entertained.
Well, that's what it's like going to a show, isn't it?
Religion is the original showbiz. And it's just funny to me that a lot of people don't see it that way.
Well,
but what do you gain when you go to these services? What do you actually learn?
What's it say in the Book of War? Get into the enemy camp and know thy enemy.
Now, I know, and this is interesting, that back in the day, you did try to start your own church. And I was going to call it a cult, but I know that you take umbrage with that.
Well, call what you want.
Okay, fair enough. So you tried to start a cult, and it didn't go too well. But what was the main appeal to you about starting? Let's call it a quasi-religious organization. I mean, most of what you were doing was trying to teach people about the actual history and doctrine of their religious
to the
beliefs.
Foundations of the religion.
Right.
And we start with the Old Testament, which most people know about, but they very rarely do study it. And then again, you got to find the meanings of where it started from. That's why I read the Talmud. And the thing is, most Christians have no idea anything about the Old Testament.
Well, that's true, and I think a big reason, I mean, once you get past the creation myth, I mean, the whole story kind of goes downhill, because there's this huge bridge that you have to get through, which I like to call the begets. It's basically pages and pages and pages of names that are, some of them barely pronounceable, some of them well-used Christian names in America today. It's just so-and-so begat, so-and-so begat, so-and-so begat, so-and-so. And, I mean, I can't be expected to read all that. I don't see how any normal human being who has anything to do in their lives could be expected to read that. So first you got to make it through that, and then afterward, the God that is depicted before what Christians call the New Covenant, before the New Testament, is such a different character from the God that's described in the New Testament. It's kind of a hard read. I mean, he's ordering the Jews to kill babies and stone women and take them as slaves, and I mean, the whole 9 yards. It's pretty wild.
They control your whole life, from diabetic to your sex life to going to the bathroom. And that's one thing I learned from the hunters when we were to the Torah thing, and she said the foundation.
Yeah, right.
And like I said, I don't know what she got from it.
So for anybody who might be watching this, the Great White Huntress is Harry's and my nickname for my mother, who was an evangelical Christian and recently converted to Messianic Judaism, realizing that after decades of proselytizing everybody about how correct she was and how everybody else was going to hell, she realized that she had made a grave mistake and she wasn't following the actual laws of the Bible. So now she's a Messianic Jew. Now she has it right. Before she was wrong, but now she definitely has it right. And she was giving some classes on Messianic Judaism, and that's how you met her,
yeah,
correct?
That was 12 years ago.
12 years ago. Wow. Time flies. What are you drinking there, Harry?
You turned me on to absinthe. I was a vodka drinker, but I like absinthe now. It's a lot more mellow than the vodka.
I do have to take credit for this. So I turned you on. Had you ever heard of absinthe before?
I heard of it.
You did?
I know the history of it.
Okay.
It goes way back to 1850.
Yeah.
When the artists and all the poets used to drink it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people credit absinthe with Van Gogh going a little crazy and cutting off his ear and gifting it to a prostitute. So there's a lot of people that think if you drink too much absinthe, because of the high concentration of wormwood, which gives birth to a chemical called thurman or something, I forget, TH something, it will eventually cause brain damage. So we bought a bottle together. I wanted to show it to you because it really is a different type of drunk.
Yes, it is.
And you're not a big drinker at all. No.
I stopped.
Yeah. So you used to be a vodka drinker, and then I showed you absinthe, and now, you're a total absinthe guy.
I was at Woodstock and I did drugs.
Yeah.
And I stopped that because it was the job or the drugs. So that same thing. So for 45 years, I didn't drink.
You know what's really interesting to me? First of all, you said, when I asked you what you're drinking, you said, you got me started on absinthe. So I see exactly what's going on here. This is a very typical case of the devil made me do it. It's not my fault. I see what you're doing, motherfucker.
Okay.
I get it. I am not going to take blame for when you turn up, I don't know, passed out in a puddle of your own vomit in the kitchen or something like. Which, hey, listen, we've all been there. I've been there. Yeah. You. I'm sure you have too.
A couple times.
Yeah, me more than you, certainly. But the other thing that's funny to me about this is I recently I'm drying out. I haven't had more than one drink in a night for a little over a week now, and I realized I was just drinking myself to death. And as soon as I decide to quit drinking, you decide I like absinthe, and I'm gonna have at least a glass a night before I go to. Like, you didn't have any last night, but the 2 nights before that you did. Well, and I've never seen you drink that much.
Last night, what did I have? A Black Russian?
Yeah. You had a Black Russian at the restaurant, and I just had a Jack Daniels. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Are you deciding to start living it up? Is that what's going on?
Maybe I figured. On my last hurrah, so I might as well go out and enjoy myself.
Now, do you get really bad hangovers or anything like that? So you might as well. See, I realize I feel sick more than I feel good. So I feel much better if I just don't. Now I feel great when I drink, but then I feel sick. Really, it's not worth it. Now, if I don't drink anything, generally speaking, I feel pretty good. It's not bad. Yeah. It's not ecstatic, but it's not bad. But I think it's really funny that as soon as I decide to stop drinking, you decide to start drinking. I feel like a sin eater. Like I transferred my sin over to you or something.
I'm trying to see how you feel.
You're trying to gain
I'm transferring myself into your body and see how you feel.
Gaining some empathy into my experience.
Yeah, getting some education on being a drinker again.
Fair enough. So we had to call attention to that because now this is funny. I was kind of thinking that we could do the absinthe ritual on camera, and the ritual is you have a spoon that goes over the top of the glass, and it has like a lip in the spoon, so it lays nice and it has holes in it. And the spoon that comes with the brand of absinthe that you're drinking right now is actually shaped like a fairy. A nickname for absinthe is the Green Fairy. It's the spirit of the absinthe that inspires the artists like Van Gogh to cut off his ear and give it to a prostitute as a gift, which, I think that she didn't take it well. If I'm remembering the story correctly. But so you put the spoon over the glass, and you put a little sugar cube on the top of the spoon. Now, you have a little bit of absinthe in the glass, like, an inch or two, and then you slowly pour cold water over the sugar cube, and it dissolves the sugar cube as the water goes into the absinthe, which is a very... the one that we have is green. Most absinthes are green. They come in different colors depending on the different botanicals that are in them. Some of them are actually pink. I've seen pink absinthe. But this one's green. And as the water mixes into the absinthe, if you do it slowly enough, it turns a cloudy, bright green that almost looks like it's glowing.
Lime green.
It almost looks like it's glowing if there's any light on it whatsoever. It's a very cloudy, bright, neon green, and then you get this aroma that just rushes. It'll fill the whole room. It smells like licorice, like a sweet licorice smell, and that's the aroma from all the botanicals. It has a chemical reaction when you put the water in it. So I was kind of thinking it would be fun to do that ritual on camera. But then you said, "Oh no, I already mixed it." Now, now in the bottle right now is not pure absinthe. It's almost clear.
No.
What did you mix?
Birch beer.
Birch beer.
And the minute I put it in there, poof.
All right, so dude.
But it has the sugar content in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Well, corn.
So what's
corn
that call
anyway?
it?
So
birch beer with a little kick.
With a little absinthe. Yeah. I do. Once I finish my water, I'm going to use my glass. I got to try that. I just want to know what you're drinking. I got to try a little bit of that. Birch beer and absinthe. I've never tried that before.
It's a little sweet for you, but then again, we got to sweeten you up anyway.
Fuck you.
I have to sweeten myself up because I'm such a sour person.
I was about to say, you're talking about sweetening me up. You're the curmudgeon out of the two of us. Well, we both are. But I think you're better at it than I am.
I have a little more better control over it.
Over your curmudgeoniness? You think?
I think I have a little better control.
Over drinking, not your curmudgeoniness.
I know.
You're more of a curmudgeon than I am, please. So tell me a little bit about what you remember getting back to the Great White Huntress when she decided that
She's put on the internet, she was doing the thing about the foundation or the Torah, and it was like a 10-week course. She sent the way for it, and she had to get 10 people to show up, so she got the books, and we went through the Old Testament.
Okay.
I knew a lot about the Old Testament, so I said, what the hell? Let me go there.
Yeah.
And out of the 10 people that signed up, there was only 4 of us there.
Okay.
And within 5 weeks, there was only 3 of us.
Mm.
I had somebody living with me, and she come with me, and once we start getting into it, she didn't want to come no more either.
Why? So did it just get too intense?
She was
mom not making it fun for everybody?
No, she was another born-again Christian. And now we were getting into nitty-gritty of religion and the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, people really don't want to know the foundation because they may not like what they find.
Well, here's something that's interesting. I think I have it here. Did you leave the quote here for me?
I left it there.
All right, so this is actually...
Yeah.
Here we go. Let me pick up my script for my marketing job. All right, so this is actually Luke 19:27-40, New International Version. So we're just going to read 27. This is Jesus speaking. But those enemies of mine who did not want me to be king over them, bring them here and kill them before me. Woo! Tough words from
Sounds like the old God
Lord of
the
Peace.
Old Testament.
Yeah, it does. Those are tough words from the Lord of Light and Love. I'll tell you what. So Linda, the woman that you brought with you, she wanted to stop going because she was a born-again Christian, and I suppose the things that you guys were uncovering in your studies was contradicting her beliefs. Is that correct?
Right. The enlightenment of the truth will scare people. They rather believe a lie.
Well, I think that they'd rather believe what makes them feel good about themselves, which, hey, frankly, let me go on record as saying, that doesn't bother me at all. And I always say this, especially to Talking Head when he's with us, I'm not interested so much in what's true, I'm interested in what people believe. And the things that I'll choose to believe in are whatever is most useful for me.
At the time.
Yeah. In other words, if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And if something does work for a while and then stops working, I'll change my mind. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, some people have an open mind.
Well, I'm what most people would call a waffle. Because I'll just believe in whatever works.
Whatever's convenient at the time.
Exactly.
To your advantage, you will be.
That is correct. And that's the only way of intellectual living, in my opinion, that as far, not like super deep thoughts, like philosophical, like argument, counter-argument, dialectic sort of thinking or deductive reasoning. I'm talking about how I act in the world. If it works and it's good for me, I'm going to keep doing that. If it doesn't work and it's bad for me, if it makes my life more complicated and if it dilutes my joy and my pleasure, I will disregard that belief or those actions and I'll take up something else. And that's the only way of thought that's ever made any sense to me. And it seems to me that most people need some sort of unquestioned, empirical, philosophical, spiritual scaffolding in their background in order to live their lives. They have to have a belief that there is a singular truth, that it's black and white, and they have to have that belief so that they have something to judge themselves against. Otherwise, they seem like they feel completely lost without it.
That's called reinforcement.
Exactly.
And what did Karl Marx say about religion?
The opiate of the masses.
Karl Marx said religion was the opium of the people.
Right.
So, give me my drug.
Oh, we're recording, man. Who is it? Is it a telemarketer?
Ed.
Oh, it's Ed? All right, tell him we're recording.
Hello, Ed. What?
I got to ask you a question. Do you have any more shotguns available?
Yeah, I do. I have another gun available.
Hi, Ed. You're on the podcast. How you doing?
You're on the Comcast now.
You're on the podcast. I just got you.
Yeah.
We can hear you. I just got you asking them for more guns.
Okay, no problem. Right. Oh, back to my gun running days.
That's so great. The one phone call that you get on a podcast that we're recording is your buddy asking you if you got more guns this. That's fantastic. I love it. Oh my God.
Oh, that was one of my titles in the city, gun runner on the CB radio.
Hey, listen, man, I don't think we want to talk about that too much.
Well,
this
no,
is not a lot of people watch, but this is public,
right.
So that's back in the day.
Right.
It was all perfectly legal. All perfectly legal. All right. What were we? Oh yeah. Like so it seems to me that people, if they don't have that black and white truth as a scaffolding to kind of tell them what to do, they're lost. They don't know what to do with themselves. It's very interesting. And you brought up the opiate of the masses,
right.
Karl. I think that's Marx. It's kind of true. I mean, it kind of puts human beings, if you're gonna believe in a daddy figure in the sky, or even a mommy figure for that matter, it kind of puts you in a place where you're a permanent child. You're never given the freedom to think for yourself. Now, it's like the dude just said in that video that we just watched, the intro.
Yeah. God
gives us choice because that's what love does. Well, perfect. But let's be honest. According to God, there's a right choice and there's a wrong choice.
Right.
So you have the right to choose, but you don't get to decide what's right for you.
Well, the thing is, he's a righteous God, and if you disagree with him, he'll get you in the end.
By throwing you into a lake of fire for all eternity. But remember, he loves you.
Yeah. Well, he's also said in the Bible, in the New Testament, love your enemies.
Sure, but then also bring my enemies before me and kill them.
Well, no,
so
the Old Testament, they said, the Old Testament, that was the old God. But
is it? Is that book in the Old Testament?
Well, no, that's in the New Testament.
Yeah, I thought this was Jesus talking, man.
Yeah,
it's Luke. This is the New Testament.
But it proved that he was a real Jew, so he knew the Old Testament.
Oh, so your thing is, and I think we talked about this on the podcast before, and of course the Great White Huntress had so many things to say after she didn't read the book, of course. That's too much. But she did look up other people's opinions, or she reached out to a pastor that she knew about that passage.
Oh, I'd like to be a fly on the wall when she did that. I'd like to know what kind of answer she got.
Yeah. Well, I think she told me what type of answer she got. And, I told her, I said, hey, listen, you're welcome to come on the podcast, but I feel kind of bad putting her in that place where she is the apologist for an entire belief system. She's not a good representative.
She don't have the background to cover her butt on that.
No,
And
but
they
you know
hit
what? The funny thing is most people don't. Most people who claim to be Christians have not read the Bible, but it really doesn't stop them at all from proselytizing. It's very interesting. They don't know shit, and they know they don't know shit, but they know the truth, and they're gonna force feed it to you if necessary.
Well, they say about the kingdom of God. What is the kingdom of God? Where is it, and where is the state?
Well, it's supposed to be inside of you. Isn't that what he says? The kingdom of God is inside of you.
The heart.
I think,
spirit.
At least that's the way it's interpreted. I got a whole bunch of tabs open on the internet right now. We can go through about things that Christians assume the Bible says, but it actually doesn't. Some of them are pretty interesting. I think that might be one of them, but I'm not sure. Does the Bible actually say the kingdom of God is within you?
I read a book on it, and it said the kingdom of God is within you.
Okay.
And it talks about the human heart.
Okay.
The human values, and what you believe.
Right.
And that is a kingdom, a nation, a land, or a spirit that's in your body?
Yeah.
Or is it in your head?
Well, the head and the heart are, I think for most people, it's very difficult for them to figure out which one is which and what they're good for.
Also says in the Bible about how deceitful the heart can be.
Sure.
The tongue lies.
Well, there's
tongue is like a rudder on a ship.
Mm.
And if you lie, you go the wrong way.
Mm.
But like I said, the Bible declares the tongue like a rudder on a ship.
Okay.
And you change the rudder and you can go different ways.
Well, that goes back to very fundamental occult or magical practices too, where words have power.
Right.
Which goes back to the Theosophy movement, and specifically William Walker Atkinson, who coined the phrase "thoughts are things." And for anybody who has ever had an out-of-body experience or traveled the astral plane in any form, we are all aware that thoughts are things. They are living entities. They're almost like larvae. Some of them are feeding on you like vampires. Those bad thoughts.
You're describing lawyers.
I think lawyer may have started out as an evil thought, and then certain people through their schooling and their vocation end up embodying those evil parasitic thoughts.
Even Jesus called the Pharisees and the Pharisees the scribes of the temple. They were the lawyers of the temple, and he called them snakes and vipers.
But getting back to what you were saying with the tongue being a rudder and the difference between the head and the heart, I'm pretty sure that the Bible, Jesus also said to be as gentle as doves, but as wise as serpents.
What?
And I think that is the fundamental difference between the head and the heart. Most people don't know the difference between the two because they both speak to you, as well as the gut and the loins. You know, we're just going down the fucking chakras here. You know what I mean? They all speak to you. And I think people not only don't know how to differentiate the messages, they don't know what their useful application is. So let me ask you if this makes sense to you. This is something that Talking Head and I came up with. He was, I don't want to tell his story, but for a while he was just kind of living on the road with a marketing troupe. So it was a bunch of homeless guys that this company hires with cash to go out and hang flyers on your door for like no money. You're like literally walking till your feet are bloody 8 to 10 hours a day, which everybody thinks they can do until you go do it. It's a lot harder than it fucking looks. And so they were just hanging flyers on doors. And, so he's, they're all druggies and alcoholics. So he's chilling with them in the hotel after the day's work is over and all that. And he's like, all of these people, because they get into fights like every night, try to kill each other. And he's like, all these people, they have absolutely no self-control. There's no thought there. And we were talking about it for a little bit. So tell me if this makes sense to you. This is what we came up with. Emotions, the heart, is there to tell you what you want. The head The brain, the mind, is there to tell you how to get it, and never between shall meet. So, in other words, I don't know what I like and what I don't like without my heart. I need my emotions to tell me what my preferences are. But in order to live a good life, I need to use my head. So if you say something that pisses me off, and I take this bottle and I smash it over your head, that's my heart telling my body what to do, not my head. So my heart is going to put me in jail. Now, if you piss me off, my heart says, hey, you're getting pissed off. My head needs to figure out how to deal with the situation. Does that make sense? I mean, is that a good prescription?
Yeah, the head knows what you want. The heart is got the desire, but you don't have the means to get to where you want to go.
Not without your head, you don't. You got to use
the head.
You got to use intelligence and experience.
How to do it.
Exactly.
I mean, it takes action.
Exactly.
And it takes a little courage to maybe step out of the limelight a little bit and do something different from everybody else.
You mean when you say step out of the limelight, you mean step out of your comfort zone? Is that what
you
mean?
Get out of the comfort zone and take a chance on life. Oh, risk something. The risk may be great for the reward. You may lose, but you may have a great reward.
Right.
And what's you looking for? A reward. You want to be rich? You're going to have to step people on the ladder and step on people going up. That's a fact.
You know what, man? In my experience, you not only step on people on the way up, you also step on people on the way down. You step on people one way or the other. Either they're threatened by your success or they're disappointed in your failure. You know, it really doesn't fucking matter.
You know that better than anybody else.
People just always seem to be under your feet.
They may be jealous of your success.
Yeah. Well, you know.
You know that personally.
That was my experience when I was making a shitload of money and I was doing it my way and I was only working 4 months out of the year. Nobody gave me a pat on the back and an attaboy. That's for damn sure. It was very much the same old thing. He's different from us. We have to worry about him. It didn't let up. It was very strange. There was no vindication for me.
Well, congratulations for what you did.
Well, thank you.
And if I
might be one of the first people to ever say that to me. And congratulations on what you did, beating the IRS.
Different paths, but did we succeed?
Absolutely.
To a degree.
Sure we did.
Did we get our ass kicked a little bit on the way up?
I got my ass kicked after I reached my goal.
You get in the ring and you learn how to fight. You don't got to win every fight.
Yeah. Now, here's something that also interests me about this 23 questions about hell video. This guy says that he had an out-of-body experience and he ended up in hell. Why are people so ready to believe him that he's actually being interviewed by Pat Robinson? It's just because it confirms their already pre-established belief.
The fact that he had a vision.
Mm-hmm.
The out-of-body was a vision.
Right.
Which Paul had.
Mm-hmm.
And he was taken to heaven, and he was shown heaven, and then he was thrown into hell to show what hell was.
And we can all have these experiences. Sometimes it just happens to you, and sometimes it just takes a little work. It's not hard to do. You just have to believe that it's possible first. And as long as you believe at least that it's possible, which is to say you don't have that very specific type of belief which we call disbelief. Disbelief is a belief in the negative. So you don't have to believe that it is real or you will achieve it. As long as you don't believe that it's impossible, it is very easy for you to learn. This isn't something that only saints can do. Or maybe that is the way that it is, and I'm a saint. I'm comfortable with that. Are you comfortable with me thinking that I'm a saint?
Oh, my experience in life is I hung 90 stories on that scaffold, laying brick.
Yeah.
One wrong step, it's all over for me. I'm just a splash
right
on the concrete.
Well, I guess you have to have a certain amount of faith at that point, at
Right.
least in your own abilities.
Same thing with the guys that went in the military. They go into battle, they hope they win. But the truth is, many have never come back. And things like in World War II, when that flap came down off the barge, the German machine gun took the first 5 rows of people down. They believed they were doing a good cause, if you believe that. But it was a good cause, but you're willing to pay the price. That's the problem. Question is, do you have the courage to pay the price and take the consequence?
Okay. But my question is, people just automatically believed. And now let me see when this book was published, because this was they said it in the video, 1998.
Right.
So this is kind of this is latter day satanic panic territory on the timeline. Satanic panic kind of reached its zenith in the mid 80s, and then it kind of petered out towards the end of the 90s into the 2000s. That's my recollection anyway. I think books like Michelle Remembers and things like that were published in the mid 80s. And that's when they were all going on about Satanists are going to steal your babies and they're going to drink the blood with straws, and they have breeders so that the babies never have social security numbers, so they're untraceable. And then people will say, well, wait a second, where's all the bodies? Well, these satanic covens are very smart. They have portable crematoriums, so you never have bodies from the sacrificed babies. I don't know why we would go through all of this trouble to kill babies. Frankly, they don't taste very good. They're not great. And secondly, why would I need to drink baby blood and risk going to jail when I can just as easily go buy a steak at the supermarket and there's no problem whatsoever? Especially if you get a nice one, it's still got the blood in it. It's good.
Oh, go ask Edelstein and Hillary.
Who's Edelstein?
Hillary Clinton.
Oh, I know who Hillary Clinton is. Who's Edelstein?
Edelstein is the guy that had that sex island.
Oh, Epstein.
Epstein.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I don't know if they were eating them. I think that the conservatives probably blow things a little out of proportion, but let's be honest. Fucking them and trafficking them also not great. Probably not great.
Yeah, well, that's what somebody created the story.
Yeah.
If it happened or not, so far I haven't seen no proof of it.
Oh my God, there's so much proof. The FBI was all over that island. They're just not releasing any of it.
But
there's so much proof. That's why you went to jail.
I haven't seen it with my eyes.
Right, that's true.
Okay, I have not witnessed it.
1,000%. I see what you're saying.
I witnessed things with my eyes that I was there and it happened.
Right.
All right. You were never there, but you got the information from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you had an actual video, it's just like they're opening up the JFK incident now.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
We're talking about all the Robert Kennedy's killing in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And maybe David Koresh in the Waco.
Oh, they're going to open that up? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that was... Are there secret files for Waco, Texas?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They got secret files on everything.
Okay. I had no idea there were secret files for Waco, Texas. I thought that was all public.
I like to open up the secret history of the Catholic Church.
Ooh, can you imagine getting into their secret archives in the basement of the Vatican?
I would love that.
How badass would that be, dude? I would feel like there's a scene in Lord of the Rings, the movie, where Gandalf is in the secret archives in the castle of Gondor. And he's just going through scrolls from 1,000 years ago, reading the accounts of ancient kings and warlocks. I would feel like Gandalf in Gondor if I could make it into the archives of the Vatican. I would probably wear a pointy hat and drink, smoke a big pipe. And I'd have to grow my beard out, because I would just do the whole thing. Like, if I got granted access, I would want to live that experience.
some secrets will never be known. They buried it.
1,000%. Absolutely.
But the secrets are being revealed now.
A lot of them supposedly will be very soon.
America is waking up now. We have a new savior of this country. And
dude, I am so waiting for people to start doing, because they're already doing like super grossly mawkish, overdone artwork of Donald Trump as like the super patriot. I'm waiting to see religious artwork like Donald Trump on the cross with an American flag. I'm waiting for it. You know it's going to happen. Somebody's going to start painting that. And if they don't, I will. Somebody's got to do it.
Why you do a paint like that?
It would probably sell.
Yeah, you probably sell it. And now we got a we have a alien running our country and doing that, and he's a South African. He's not an American citizen.
Oh, I thought you meant alien, like space alien.
Yeah, Musk.
Yeah, a lot of people think that he's actually from a different planet.
No, he's from South Africa.
That's not what I thought you meant. He's not an
American citizen. He's doing a terrific job.
In my opinion, yeah. I mean, the last podcast, Talking Head, was kind of accurate when he said the reason why you like seeing all this shit happen is because you're just a chuckle fuck. That's kind of accurate. He kind of pegged me there. I like to see power and power brokers publicly humiliated and broken, and it gets me off.
It's nothing but shit and giggles.
Yeah, it gets me off a little bit.
I like it too.
It gets you off, right?
Don't get me off. It's about time somebody exposed the truth.
Well, I actually do masturbate thinking about Doge.
Oh, you're wasting your seed, mister. Dropping it on the ground. That's a sin according to church.
The sin of Onan. Yes. Well, actually, that is a popular misinterpretation of the Bible. The story, if I'm correct, and if I'm not, somebody can correct me in the comments. He was ordered, I believe, to take his brother's wife after his brother died, and he refused to come inside of her. So I think that the sin of onanism, is actually about coitus interruptus, not about masturbation. Does that ring a bell? Am I wrong in that? Because I think I remember reading that somewhere.
Well, I don't know that much about Odin, but I said...
I said Onan.
No.
I thought that was his name, wasn't it? Isn't that masturbation is called the sin of Onan or Onanism?
Well, that's what the Northern...
No, that's Odin. Odin. O-D-I-N.
I must admit...
Yeah.
That you probably know more different religions than I do prior to what the Jewish religion is, the former religion.
Well,
before that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason for that. And I've talked to you about this before. The reason why I know more about different religions and it's contradictory to what I usually say, which is I don't care about what the truth is. I care about what people believe because I need to get along in the world. So knowing where people are coming from a priori allows me to have the prejudice, prejudge, in order to assume, because you don't know somebody until you know them. But if there's a whole slew of things that you can assume about them before you get to know them, you're probably statistically on a pretty good track of being able to control the interaction to a greater degree than if you went in assuming that you know nothing. So most people that you meet in America, if they're not really Christian, then they're identity Christers. And if they're not even identity Christers, most people in America will at least pay service to God, the Christian God. And if not that, then at least pay lip service to a higher power. So you always approach somebody that you don't know with that basic assumption, that basic prejudice. Now, the reason why I know more about ancient religions or different religions is frankly because I don't find the Judeo-Christian religion all that interesting. I really don't. It's a desert religion. It has nothing to do with my life. And not only that, it has nothing to do with my ancestry. My ancestors didn't grow up in the fucking desert. It has nothing to do with my DNA. I don't understand how it became so goddamn popular in the first place. It's really wild.
Well, it became popular because in the book of Revelations, Jesus had curly hair, countenance of the sun, and he was a man of color, and the Roman government that created the Christian religion put the white, black-haired, blue-eyed Jesus on there 2 centuries later. But he was a man of color, of some color. He was in the desert.
Well, he was a desert person,
And the Christian, you tell that to a Christian? You tell that to a white...
Well, if you tell that to a Christian in America.
Oh, you tell it to a white Irish Catholic? You get ready for a fight.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have any depictions of Jesus running around in a fucking kilt playing the bagpipes.
We have a bust of Caesar. No. We know what Caesar looked like.
Sure.
But we don't know what Jesus looked like.
Well, we do. Well, actually, now here's to my point about this astral projection and going to hell, this vision, this out-of-body experience nonsense from Bill Wiese. Everybody believes him because it automatically confirms the beliefs that they already have. So they want to believe. They're like, you went out of your body and you went to hell. That's proof that everything that I believed my entire life is true and accurate. Well, I travel out of my body all the time, and I had a ton of different experiences. Not once have I ended up in any place closely resembling the biblical hell, which actually isn't even in the Bible. But, fire and brimstone, lake of fire, that's in there. So let me show you this. So this is another person that had an out-of-body experience. Now this, I think it's a woman, had a near-death experience. Okay? And she was visited by Jesus when she was dead out of her body. But she happens to be a great artist. Isn't that a wonderful thing for her?
If she remembers and she could put it on canvas, it's great.
And this is the painting that she created of her, what Jesus actually looks like. Now, isn't that wonderful that Jesus actually is Caucasian? It really has paler skin than I do. He has a little bit of a Middle Eastern vibe with the thick eyebrows, but you got thick eyebrows, and you're German. So he's got the thick eyebrows, a little bit of a Middle Eastern vibe, almond-shaped eyes, okay? The long aquiline nose. That's a Middle Eastern vibe. I'll give her that. But then he's got frosted tips. Do you think that Jesus Christ had frosted tips? Do you think he was going for like a rock star sort of look? Or do you think maybe that's a little inaccurate historically, if the guy exists?
Could be a little inaccurate, but...
Might be.
But like I said, was he a rock star of his age?
Sure. But do you think that means he was giving himself frosted tips? He was bleaching the tips of his hair so he looked more like a rock star?
No.
Probably not.
No, they talk about people having white hair and wisdom and getting age and being more smarter than the rest of them.
You're talking about people who see the face of God, their hair turns white.
Right. Or look at Moses in the 40 days he was in it. He had white hair by the time he's done.
Right.
He was like in 80s, 90 years old.
Well, it's kind of like the presidents. They seem to age 5 years for every year they're in office.
Bill Clinton looks terrible, and so
Obama. I guess really what it is maybe the stress of being in the presence of God. It just aged them very quickly. Maybe
stress will kill you.
Sure, yeah. But so if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I died, and I was dead for like a minute and a half, and in that time, Jesus visited me and told me it wasn't my time yet. And I'm going to paint exactly what he looks like, and this is exactly
what she believes.
If she showed me that painting, I would look at her and say, oh, so you didn't see shit. Because that ain't, if he existed, that ain't what he looked like. So what the fuck did you see? I don't know. But it would be like me having a dream, and this is proof that Jesus is real. Here's what he looks like. He has fucking frosted tips. Yeah, this would make me question the whole experience right away. But here's the thing. It conforms to what people already believe.
It's in their head already.
So they're comfortable taking her word for it and using her story to bolster the enterprise of Christianity and religion in America. Now, I don't think that this painting is selling like hotcakes in America. She's selling prints of it. She has for many years. She's making a handful of money, hand over fist. My stepmom actually bought a copy. But I tell you what, I don't think these prints are going to be selling well in Ethiopia.
Of course not.
No.
The Ethiopian people are supposedly the lost tribe of Israel.
Mm.
Supposedly. They say they have the ark.
Yeah,
and
that's
they got
interesting.
The gate, and they got the guy standing outside with an AK-47 protecting their ark.
Yeah.
That's what they believe.
That's very interesting. And I think Graham Hancock talks about that a lot, and he wants to get in there because the people that they have guarding the ark, they all die very young, and they all get cancer. So he thinks there's some sort of radiation or something going on. And Joe Rogan asked him, he said, when you go to the cathedral where it's supposed to be, why don't you just bring like a radiation detector? Like that never occurred to him. That's the first thing I would do.
If you look at the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark,
yeah,
when they tied up Harrison Ford and the girl, and the Germans opened it up and they did their Jewish ritual, and you had the things flying around, and they were angels,
yeah.
And all of a sudden they turned to skeletons.
Yeah, the one guy melted, the other guy's face imploded.
FS, his face was melting like wax.
Yeah.
Now, as far as this is a study by the University of Minnesota. They built an ark according to the scriptures, and they put it in a room.
Yeah.
They measured it.
Okay.
It was producing energy, uncontrolled energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to be a radio transmitter.
Okay.
A battery. Or some kind of instrument that got energy. They had to take it apart because the professor said, if we keep this here, we are going to have enough energy to do the whole town on this one object. Because every year was getting more energy.
Okay.
So they destroyed it out of fear.
Okay.
That goes back to the temple, the pyramids, when the Egyptians were supposed to, those pyramids.
That's a theory that the energy, especially the Great Pyramid of Giza, was actually some sort of chemical reaction energy generator. Yeah.
And they had a battery that was 3,500 years old.
The Baghdad battery.
Yeah. And a lot of people say, well, batteries weren't until about 1800, 1890, but it was way before that.
Oh, yeah. Ancient people were using electricity for something. We have no idea what they were using it for, but they were producing it.
That's lost history.
So it's evidence that they were using it for something.
Most people don't even know about that.
Well, I think that, for anybody who's interested, I think that nowadays the Baghdad battery is pretty much common knowledge.
Yeah.
You don't have to convince anybody if they're interested in that sort of thing. Now if you go to a person on the street who's right out of high school or college, has never had a job. Hey, did you know that 3,000 years ago people had electricity? They'd be like, "What? Get out of here!" And then you show them a picture, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's awesome!" And they'll be. But I don't think they're not going to believe you.
You ask modern people today about an electric car.
Yeah, well, you brought this up on a previous podcast. Tell me again. When was the first electric car?
1888.
Yep, a lot of people don't know that.
It was made by Studebaker, which I believe was in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And they had battery-operated cars, and Studebaker made them up to 1910.
Yep.
But
I'm pretty sure that's accurate. Yeah, because we looked into it.
1910, 1911.
Because actually, when you told me this, I was surprised. I didn't know that. And now, when I got into solar sales, you gave me a book on solar panels.
Yeah.
From the 1970s.
Yeah.
And it still surprised me, but I kind of knew that solar panels were around then because like hippies were really into them and stuff. But when you told me that the electric car is from the 19th century,
Yeah.
I was kind of floored, and we looked it up, and it's actually true. And what was I think the only reason why that gasoline became the standard, if I remember correctly, is because Standard Oil was producing kerosene for everybody's lights before electricity. And gasoline is a byproduct from the process from petroleum when you make kerosene. And they were just dumping it, and Rockefeller wanted to figure out a way to sell it. So they came in with the internal combustion engine.
And he also bribed all the congressmen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then later on, they had a conspiracy. General Motors had a conspiracy to get rid of all of the railway systems in every major city in America to force people to have to buy cars. Now, this is true. They were found guilty before Congress, and they were fined. This is true. And this is actually, if anybody remembers the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that's what that fucking movie's about. Go look up the history of General Motors in a conspiracy, taking away the trolley and the rail systems from every major city in America to force people to buy cars. Look up the fact that they were found guilty and fined by Congress. And then, just for fun, go watch the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Right.
And then you're going to look at that movie in a whole new light. You're going to be like, holy shit.
And look at the Antitrust Act.
Yeah, what about it?
That was the monopoly that they were trying to do.
Oh, everybody's always trying to get a monopoly. 100%. Yeah.
The phone company had to be broken up.
Yeah.
And when Westinghouse, they had to break that company up into all those splinter companies. Now we got, about at least a dozen different phone companies?
Well, I don't feel so bad about Westinghouse because he did fuck Nikola Tesla.
Oh, big
and probably the rest of humanity as well. So fuck that guy and fuck his company.
If Tesla would have got his royalties back then, which was $10 million back in 1915, Tesla would have been a very rich man.
And we would all have free wireless electricity.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing about that is I remember watching an interview with some engineer or scientist who said that it's a good thing that Nikola Tesla didn't achieve his goal. And for anybody who thinks that we're bullshitting that you can't have wireless electricity, no, you can. I saw a video of it. Nikola Tesla has a fucking remote control boat on the water. Okay, he has a big console in front of him.
That was the World's Fair in Paris.
Is that where it was?
It was in Paris.
So he's got like this giant tabletop console in front of him, and he's got like this 2-foot long remote control boat in the water off the dock. And not only is he controlling the boat with radio waves, which back then blew people's fucking minds, the boat itself doesn't have a power source. There's no battery in the boat.
No.
He is not only transmitting the control radio waves to the boat, he is transmitting the power to the boat through the antenna.
Yeah, the big box like that. It's like people who do with the drones today.
Right. Well, no, the drones have batteries.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was a big control box that everything was there.
Everything was in the box. All the boat did was pick up signal. Part of that signal was telling the boat what to do, and the other part of that signal was the actual energy that ran the motors in the boat. Wild. Now, the scientist who was being interviewed, he said it's a good thing that Nikola Tesla didn't achieve his dream, because if he did, the electrical interference that would be in our atmosphere at all times would make computers impossible. Micro transistors, the whole thing, there would be way too much interference. They would not be able to operate.
Well, also back in 1920, they had an electric submarine, electric motor in the submarine.
So did the submarine have giant batteries?
No. It ran on radio waves.
Really?
Yes. And it was a submarine. It was about 1924.
Okay.
And they were experimenting with that.
Okay.
So if you could do that, our Navy wouldn't be we wouldn't have nuclear power on the ships.
Which is extremely dangerous, yeah.
But you remember 1938 when he had the tower out on Long Island, he was going to transmit the electric?
Well, what he wanted to do was he wanted to electrically charge the ionosphere. He was basically going to make Earth
a battery
ring like a bell.
Yeah.
And there would be just this energy that you could pull out of the sky through an antenna, because everything just works on wavelengths. And he understood that. It's just a different wavelength, just like light, radio waves, sound, the different colors are different wavelengths. And he understood that electricity and magnetism are just different wavelengths.
And they also, back in the World War I, when they took all the bells out of the church, the frequencies that were coming off the bells in the churches were transmitters.
Mm-hmm.
And people were, I wouldn't say getting healed, but I would say people were getting feeling a lot better going to church. Now, were the bells given
Now, you're talking about the construction of the ancient cathedrals, the Gothic cathedrals.
Yeah,
So a lot of people don't know this. I actually looked into this too. That's it. We both know about this. Ancient cathedrals, medieval cathedrals, were all built in the shape of a cross. And you'd have, I think, at one arm, you'd have instruments. At the other arm of the cross, you'd have the choir. Basically, what would happen is that the architecture was created in such a way that if you were in the center of the cross, or the heart of Jesus, as it were, in the floor plan of the cathedral, there would be like this vibratory frequency that was really, I guess, kind of gave you a transcendent experience because of the vibrations there. And it's kind of like, I assume, when you're familiar with binaural beats.
Yeah.
So what it is it's two different frequencies. You're supposed to have it on headphones, and your brain ends up reacting to the two different frequencies by the difference between them. So if you want to get your brain into 7 hertz and you listen to 40 hertz in your left ear and 47 hertz in your right ear, your brain will start operating at 7 hertz, something like that. So what happens that I find very interesting is I have the Echo Dots, the little speaker things.
Yeah.
And I sync it up to my phone on Bluetooth, and I have an app for the binaural beats, and I'll play it through the speaker. It's one speaker. And when I'm playing it through one speaker, it's really interesting, because if I stand next to the speaker, I hear wum, 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 wum. Now, if I take one step away from the speaker, I hear wum. And then if I take another step away from the speaker, I hear wum, 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 wum. So it's almost like I'm walking between where those two frequencies meet up.
It's like that line that goes this way, that it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, and every couple, like, pace, or the farther away you get from it, the farther you have to walk to pick up the vibration again. But it's like every pace or 2 paces, you'll start picking up that vibration again. But when you're in between those 2 spaces, it just sounds like, woo. It's very creepy. So I imagine that the acoustics of the ancient cathedrals worked on a similar kind of science, that, you know, all of those sound waves are converging in the center of that cross floor plan, and that was supposed to give people who were seated there sort of like an energy uplift, like an energy download.
Maybe a body tune-up.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's another guy who I think what was his fucking name? There's Palmer. He was an old occultist. Shit. I'm gonna have to look that up real quick because I don't want to get this wrong. What was his name? Let me see if I can find it real quick. Manly P. Hall. I got that. I was way off. Manly P. Hall. So Manly P. Hall talks about if you go into the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, the atmosphere, it's almost like a deathly cold. Like you feel cold in your bones, and it's very still. And he says if you lie in the sarcophagus of the King's Chamber and somebody hits the stone in the right way, it gives off this sound that for the initiates of the ancient Egyptian religions was supposed to promote them having their out-of-body experience, which for a lot of people don't know this, for initiates to the mystery religions in ancient Egypt, especially the Pharaoh, if you did not have an out-of-body experience, you could not be expected to have immortality once your body passed away. So, and this is what they called, you would be a human-headed hawk, and you would have far sight. And this is where the word Jedi comes from Star Wars, Jedi. And we don't know how they pronounced it, but it's the same word. The adepts of the ancient Egyptian mysteries were called Jedi. But the Pharaoh was expected to do this. Now, I'm sure a lot of them lied. They said, oh, yeah, I was flying around. I was looking at everything. That way they could retain their power. But according to their mysteries, unless you had that experience in the coffin, the sound vibrations of the coffin were supposed to elicit that reaction. It was supposed to help you separate from your body. So sound is an amazing thing.
Just like I do with the smart meters and my shungite.
And you're actually wearing some. Why don't you talk about that?
This is shungite made out of Russian stone, and we use resin and we make these things. And what they do, this is like an 8-foot circle around me that absorbs any EMF that comes off smart meters, computers, phones, and it absorbs it, and it breaks the signal up because it does it so fast. And it's like tuning my body up and taking the harmful rays that come from this stuff and destroying them. Like wearing the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
People wear the Bluetooth, they're getting their brains exposed 191,000 times.
Yeah.
And that's why it says the Bluetooths are very dangerous. And they have proven it. I have a meter that I could register frequencies up to 4G.
Well, it's very strong electrical signals coming off of all of these devices. That we all know that. And isn't it funny that back in the day, in the late 90s, early 2000s, when cell phones were just becoming like a popular consumer commodity, you didn't have to be rich to have one anymore.
Let me get the other thing that's here. I seen you put it here.
Okay. But I mean, I remember back in the day where there were news reports after news report of, there you go, news report after news report of, the danger of cancer from cell phone use. And it's really funny, and it must be because it became so profitable. Nobody talks about that shit anymore.
Yeah, well, like I said, this thing we sell, when we sold.
Yeah, show everybody that.
This is a shungite funnel we make.
Now tell people what shungite is. Where does it come from?
Shungite is a stone that the whole mountain is made out of a carbon-type stone that comes from Russia.
But, I mean, is it widely believed or is it proven that this material came from a meteorite?
Well, that's what they believe. The whole mountain is one meteor that crashed the Earth.
Because it's only in two places in the world. It's in Russia and China. That's it, right? Yeah.
But the real stuff is in Russia.
Okay.
And it costs a lot of money to ship it. But like I said, something like this we were selling to people that had power lines over their head, and this covers 2,400 square feet circle.
Okay.
And
so you've actually tested it with an EMF meter.
I checked it with my meter.
So you can tell how far
I could read the frequency,
how far of an effect the shungite has.
Right.
Okay.
And this we got so much laying around the house.
Yeah.
That the whole house is protected.
It's not a house; it's a compound.
Well, a quarter compound. But then again, we got the concrete that's stopping the radiation coming in too. Because we got something in the wall. And Russia has rooms.
Oh, you put shungite in the concrete when you built it? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Don't ask me why it cost, because it shudders me to think what went in the wall. Big money.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But like I said, we've proven it works. Nobody has returned our product. We gave them a guarantee. If you don't feel it works, you send it back, we'll give you money back.
That's awesome. Well, and you never had anybody return it.
Nobody.
How long did you and Nick do that for?
Well, we did that for like 8 years.
Okay. And you never had anybody return anything?
Nobody ever returned anything.
So I guess everybody...
I had people looking for me for 5 years until they found me.
Because they wanted more?
They wanted more.
Okay. Not because they were hunting you down?
No, they were hunting me down because I gave a place to a girl, and I charged her like $110. Her father had stage 3 cancer.
Okay.
And he put the food on it, and 6 months later, the cancer was gone.
Yeah, I know that the people who believe in this stuff, and I don't doubt you, but I've never seen you perform the test. The people who believe in this stuff really do seem to think that it's kind of a cure-all for everything.
I think
it's pretty
more
interesting.
of a maintenance than a cure-all, because we're getting bombarded every day.
Okay.
We have toxins all day, every day hitting us. So it just is a preventive medicine to extend life.
Interesting. Hey,
but if that's the way it is, because we're deteriorating, and if you could add 20, 30 years to your life just by having the stuff around, you don't have to plug it in, you don't have to recharge it, it does it automatically.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like your necklace though. I mean, I like the way you do them. It's pretty neat. So I'm out of water. Why don't you give me just a little bit of that absinthe and birch beer? Let me try this shit out. I need to see what you're drinking here. That's good. That's good. I don't want to take it. I want to take all your booze here. Let's see. Let's try this out.
It's going to be a little light for you.
Well, I can smell a little bit of the absinthe in there, but I mainly smell the birch beer.
Right.
Let me see. Just tastes like birch beer. I thought you were going hardcore on me.
Well,
how much absinthe was in that bottle when you made it?
We only had about that much.
That much was in there?
That much was in there. And
wow, that must be a really strong flavored birch beer. Yeah, I don't even smell any licorice. But it's been so long since I've had birch beer or any kind of soda. I kind of swore it off when I was in my 20s because my teeth were falling out. I was gaining weight. My tongue was coated every day. So I swore it off. It's been a long time since I had soda.
You still can taste the licorice in that.
I can't. No, I can't. But like I said, it's been so long since I had soda that maybe like it's overpowering to me because I'm not used to it. You drink soda all the time. You have a constitution that's out of this world. You can eat and drink whatever you fucking want and you're fine. I was 23 and my fucking teeth were falling out and I was gaining 10 pounds and, you know, the whole 9 yards. So,
well, I ate a lot of things out of nature that used to pick berries, mushrooms, no problem.
Yeah.
But the only way to test it is if you pick a berry, you bite into it. If it don't burn your tongue or your lips, you wait a half hour, then it's probably all right to eat.
This is not medical advice. I
No.
recommend people do not eat things if you don't
Do
know
not
what it
do
is.
this because I got 30 years into it,
Yeah.
and I know what I'm looking
We're
at.
not advising people to eat berries if they don't know what they are.
Don't
That's
eat
a very
berries.
dangerous thing.
The Benadonna berries, they will kill you in a heartbeat.
Belladonna. Belladonna.
And it's a very common thing to see.
Well, let's take a look at some of these Bible things I looked up. Let's see what the Bible didn't say. So common misconceptions about the Bible. So examples of things the Bible doesn't say. God helps those who help themselves. Actually, the Bible never says that, but a lot of people think it does. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Well, that's a good thing for both of us because, frankly, I hate taking showers, and my unholy stink, gives me away. And I know you're not super into organization yourself. So.
No.
Yeah. So we can still be holy. We can have our holy reek. Spare the rod, spoil the child. The phrase actually comes from a 17th century poem, not the Bible. God won't give you more than you can handle. This too shall pass. Now, that I was 100% certain was somewhere in the Bible. It's not in the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible does it say this too shall pass. Did you think that was in the Bible? Because I thought it was in the Bible.
Remember, when they created the Judeo-Christian, they put it in there for a reason, for control.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's what people believe. Now, how do you control your children?
Well, I think you control your children by beating the living snot out of them if they don't do what they...
Corrections is one thing.
Really?
I mean, you got to put the fear. What they tell you in Tennessee? You got to put the fear of God into them.
I don't remember somebody telling me that.
Oh
yeah. Because I took over a business from a lady who was having. She had a photo studio and she wasn't doing too well. She needed me to come in and get her business back on track, which I did. And then after it became profitable again, and I had a new team hired, all of a sudden she became very not retired anymore. And she came in and she insisted that I fire somebody that I just hired just to put the fear of God into everybody else. Yeah, put the fear of God into them, which I refused to do. I was like,
guess who got fired?
Yeah, I didn't get fired. I was planning on leaving anyway.
Bye.
If she offered me a full-time job and she stayed retired, I would have considered it. But after that wasn't going to happen. There's no way I'm working for somebody like that. That is contrary to my management style. Let's just say that. So here's some more. Money is the root of all evil. Let's see what the Bible actually says. 1 Timothy 6:10 actually says, "For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs." In other words, it's not the root of all evil, but it can be a root for many kinds of evil. The love of money. Not money, the love. And you can love money. I look at the way that the Bible actually says it like this. It's kind of like a gun. Or a hammer. Let's say it's like a hammer. Money's like a hammer. You can use it to hit a nail into a piece of wood and build something, or you can use it to hit somebody over the fucking head.
Like a mega church.
That's a good...
Joe Osteen.
Dude, well, when we went to the library sale, there was a book by him. Did you see it?
Yeah.
I forget what the title was, but I mentioned, I don't think you heard me. I was like, hey, Joe Osteen.
Yeah, well, I used to walk with some of these people.
You met Joel Osteen?
I met quite a few of them.
Okay. What was that like?
Well, like I said, the ones that had the mega church, I considered they were putting a show on. It was like a production.
It's showbiz, 100%.
Show business. But then I met some real ones, but they weren't rich.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, sometimes the money got too overwhelming, and they did get this great power, and they used it against the people.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't join my church, you're not going to be blessed.
Who's that revivalist black pastor who's on like cable access or something like that, and he has a mega church? His name's Dollar, Reverend Dollar.
Well, yeah. Yeah, Reverend Dollar.
What a perfect name. How could you trust the pastor whose name is Reverend Dollar?
Right.
That's amazing.
And you had another pastor, Jake, and they did get caught in a little triangle, a little sexual triangle.
Ooh.
And they disappeared for a while.
They what?
They disappeared for a while.
Oh, okay.
You didn't see them for a while.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Swaggart with the prostitutes.
Yeah. Isn't that the blonde guy that was on the news like crying or something?
No, that was down in Louisiana.
Okay.
Then you had Jim Baker.
It's not contrary to what I said. Yeah.
And then you had Gene Perfetta.
Mm-hmm. I don't recognize any of these names.
No, these are going back 30 years. And I seen that. And when Jessica Hahn got his $10,000 inheritance from her grandmother, it wasn't an inheritance. It was a payoff from Jim Baker for their encounter in the motel down in Florida.
Ooh, spicy.
But like I said, that's why they did that.
Yeah.
But again, I don't blame these guys. They did what they had to do, but they paid the price.
Yeah. So often they do not. It's kind of like murderers. You can only profile murderers by the ones that have been caught.
Right.
You can't take into account the psychology of the ones that don't get caught. So it's a misnomer to say serial killers all want to get caught.
Right.
They all want to... Well, yeah, the ones that get caught, they do.
Right.
What about the ones that never get caught?
Like the Catholic Church is definitely guilty of a lot of sin.
No,
how much are they paying off for these sexual encounters they had with the choir boys?
Here's the thing that I love about this whole thing with the satanic panic and the Catholic Church. So for so long, Satanists are stealing your babies. Satanists are raping your children. Satanists are sacrificing your children. Satanists have breeders. Satanists have portable crematorium. First of all, let me say unequivocally, all joking aside, and I do love to joke about adrenochrome and all those things, but all joking aside, we're not interested in your fucking children. If your children are your DNA, they're probably going to grow up to be just like you. And we're not interested in you. We're not interested in your children. They're probably going to end up being just as boring, sluggish, greedy, and programmed as their parents. So we have about as much interest in your children as we have in you, which is none at all. But what really gets me is, the old saying about giving the devil his due. Well, right out towards the end of the Satanic Panic, what happens? But it comes out that the Catholic Church has been guilty for decades, at least, of so many of the things that the public and the church are accusing Satanists of doing. I loved that. That was amazing. And isn't it true? I mean, you look at even, to go back into politics, the Democrats right now, it's really weird because it's almost Orwellian doublespeak. Everything that they're accusing their enemy of doing are the things that they're doing.
it boomerang back to them.
It's kind of like if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to fly the Lolita Express and fuck a bunch of kids. Nobody offered. But let's say I wanted to do it. Basically, it seems like the best way to get away with that and to be outside the pale of consideration, of accusation, is to make sure you're accusing other people of doing it. So if I want to go to an island and fuck kids, all I have to do is accuse other people of fucking kids. And then I'm pretty much safe. Who's going to accuse me of doing it? I'm accusing everybody else.
You're the mirror.
Yeah, and that goes right back into religion and self-deceit. I mean, you know, the evil that it's like, what does even Jesus say? Take the log out of your own eye before you remove the speck from your brother's.
Take the speck out of your eye before you take the log out of your neighbor's eye.
Yeah, other way around, I think.
That's being spiritually blind.
But, I mean, it's pretty amazing. All of these self-righteous people that are wailing about trans rights and trans women being able to play in women's sports, which is the craziest one, or being able to go into women's bathrooms or locker rooms or all of this stuff. And even, Talking Head is not willing to say, yeah, that's fucking wrong. It is a religious ideology, and here with the right wing taking over, I mean, we both know how deeply religious J.D. Vance is, and how deeply religious Donald Trump is poorly pretending to be. We have swapped one ideology for another, and I mean, this is not an administration that's trying to bring the country back together. This is not, Donald Trump is never going to be a unifying principle. I mean, every time he gets up to make a speech, he had a guy from China that's going to be investing billions of dollars to do microtransistor manufacturing in America, which is great. We need manufacturing jobs, and we need microtransistors, and we don't make any of them here. We don't have the capability. It would take us something like 10 years to get it right, which is wild. So we're going to have those manufacturing plants in America. And he goes, I forget what state it was.
It was Indiana.
It was I think it was Arkansas, but let's just say Indiana. Let's say Indiana. He goes, well, I think many of the factories are going to be built in Indiana, which is great. I love Indiana. It's great. It's because I won the state, but, let's be honest. I won most states, but I won Indiana. Indiana's a great state. And it's like, dude, you already won. Now you're not just the president of the people who like you. You're everybody's president. You kind of ought to be trying to bring the country back together. But no, we've just traded one quasi-religious ideology for another. Both extremely divisive. Everybody thinks they're the fucking chosen ones. The people on the left think they're the fucking chosen ones because they're so fucking smart and they're so fucking open and empathetic and progressive. And the people on the right think they're the fucking chosen ones because God chose me and I follow God's word and I follow the Bible and that's what's right and that's that. And the only difference between the two is that the religion on the left always had shifting goalposts. So they never had a static picture of what being a good person was. It changed every day. On the right, with Christianity, they have a static picture of what it means to be good. You have something that's empirical by with to judge yourself, to see how good you are and to judge others by. But either way, having something that's an outside source that tells you how good or how bad you are, whether it's static or dynamic, really is just you not wanting to grow up and judge for yourself.
They want people standardized.
Yes.
like China has with the credit scores on their credit.
Yes.
If you're down low score, you can't travel, you can't do this, you can't do that. But if you got a high score, you could do things.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, they have a standard that they measure you by.
Mm-hmm.
Who gives you that right?
Who gives the government that right? I'll tell you exactly who gives the government that right. The people when they don't stick up for themselves. That's who gives them that right.
But then when you stick up for yourself, you definitely will catch some drift. And you will...
You're going to catch some shrapnel.
Yeah. Well, so therefore, it's always a war.
Humanity is always a battle of competing interests, competing energies, really competing interests. It's always interesting to me that people seem to love getting bogged down in the particulars when they're looking at, especially the evolution or the evolution of a society or of a culture. They don't really seem to be able to put on the hat of the not of the specialist, but of the the overall. I forget what it's called. The generalist. Putting on the hat of the generalist, and just looking at things without getting bogged down in details. Do we have to litigate whether or not there's evidence that Elon Musk is using his position within the government running Doge as a platform in order to enrich himself? Do we have to litigate it? I am assuming that he is, because that's what human nature does. And I don't think that you get to the point where you're the richest man in the world without having an interest in building wealth. If you're not interested in building wealth, you're not going to end up as the richest person in the world. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm assuming that he is using it to his advantage. But what's interesting to me is, if you're going to just put on the hat of a generalist for a second, let's take the minutia out of it. Let's take your own personal feelings out of it. Let's look at everything that happened the last 4 or 5 years and just look at it as if it's waves crashing on the beach, as if it's wind blowing in the trees. Natural forces, okay? The pendulum swings this way, and the farther they push it that way, the harder it's going to come back in the other direction. I have been predicting the current state of affairs for years. Nobody heard me. Nobody thought it could ever happen.
Attention to you.
No, of course not. And this goes back to what we were talking about before. There's an excellent saying, and I don't know if it's actually in the Bible or not, but the saying is, a prophet is never welcome in his own home.
Right.
Now, why is that?
Nobody wants to see the truth.
Yeah.
Do you remember the little toy that's on the office where you got these 6 bulbs and you go clink, clink,
exactly,
clink?
Exactly.
And the same energy is here, the same energy goes out here. And it continually go, and it don't stop.
Yeah.
But in the middle, it stays the way same, but it's one ball hits here, one ball goes out. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
And it's continuous energy.
Yeah. You know what's a fun way to look at that is the ball on the left is the one wing, the ball on the right is the other wing, and the 3 balls in the middle that never move, that's the public.
Yes.
They just transfer the energy.
Isn't everything energy?
Everything's energy. But you really do have to look at everything that's happening from a bird's eye perspective in order to see it and be able to make predictions like that. I mean, the Democrats are like, who knew that this could happen? Oh, how could this happen? Are you serious? Look at everything that's happened the last 4 or 5 years. You didn't see this coming? And I'm not even saying it's a good thing. Now, as we've already established, I'm a little bit of a chuckle fuck, and I'm getting a kick out of it. But I don't know if this is a good thing. We're going to have to see the results.
Wait and see.
But I saw it coming. Nobody else did. I mean, except for like some intellectuals online that, I'd happen across a post on on Twitter or something, and I'd be like, yeah, I've said that. I agree with that. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. They're pushing so hard for all this bullshit, the energy is just going to come right back into the other direction. Real hard.
It's just like the beginning of this country. When George Washington got elected president, the people questioned it. Are we going to replace one king for another?
Yeah.
And some people wanted to make George Washington a king.
Yeah. I've read that, sure. They taught us that in school anyway.
Yeah. They don't teach that in school now.
They don't?
No.
I don't give a shit.
They don't. They want the kids to be dumb.
Yeah.
They teach social justice. They don't teach history.
Yeah.
Because history repeats itself if you don't pay attention.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, was Christopher Columbus a rotten son of a bitch? Sure.
Oh, definitely.
Pretty much everybody was
he
back
didn't
then.
land on America.
And everybody pretty much is today, too. But is it important for a culture to have heroes that are iconic? Is it important for the cohesiveness of the culture? I would argue that it is, but I'm generally not convinced that social cohesion is in the end a positive thing. Personally, I think people should be able to just all be themselves and live in harmony anyway, but that is certainly a pipe dream. That's not going to happen anytime soon.
We're never going to have a utopia.
No, I don't, and I'm not saying utopia. No, I believe, like I said in the last podcast, I believe that Dunes, the book Dune and the movie Dune, their projection of the future of humanity, I kind of fell in love with, both aesthetically and philosophically. And I don't believe in the possibility of utopia. I do not want utopia. The reason is because human beings do not evolve unless they're under pressure.
They got to have a confrontation to give meaning to their life.
Yes, and the meaning is to adapt and evolve. Human beings are not very good at taking control of their own evolution. It comes back to what we were talking about before, the difference between the heart and the head. So if I ever start feeling bored, I know what that means. That means I'm too comfortable in what I've already accomplished. And what's the best way to figure out something new and exciting to do that's going to push your boundary, get you outside of your comfort zone, is if you're scared to do it.
Stir the pot.
If you're scared to do it, it means two things. It means it's probably something that you want to do, and you've never done it before, and it terrifies you because it puts you outside of everything that you've already experienced. And that's how you take control of your own personal evolution. And human beings are very, very, very good at evolving when their back is to the wall. Once humanity's painted itself into a corner, it always comes out ahead. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So the fact that we're here is evidence that that's the way it works. But I'll tell you, just from observation, human beings are not good at doing anything unless they have to.
Well, you've seen the letter I sent out today.
Yeah, you can go ahead and talk about that.
Is that a threat to the system?
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for a reply on that.
Well, why don't you tell everybody, tell me about the letter. What'd you send out?
We found a COL. It's called Color of the Law. And it's the federal laws that determine on what judges, police, and politicians do. They violate the Constitution by color of the law, which is not legal. They have their agenda and they put it out there and they try to hope people don't wake up to it. Color of the law is like rules and regulations. They kind of take shortcuts that are not legal. And this color of the law makes them liable to be arrested, fined, and put in jail. So I put it against the commissioner or the consular of PennDOT, the judge, the DA, on fighting over something simple like a traffic ticket. This traffic ticket has turned into a nightmare for them because they got a crazy man behind that.
Yeah, I mean, you're having fun with the whole process, but
Well,
for
you know
them,
what?
you're putting them out of it.
Where is the fear? What are they going to do to me? Or am I going to be so fearful to them that they're going to say, just leave this guy alone? But am I willing to take the chance on it? Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you a question, though, back to my point that in order to take control of your own evolution, a good measure that you're doing something that is going to force you to grow as an individual is that you're scared to do it. When's the last time that you made yourself do something that perhaps you were fearful of doing?
I think I lost all fear of everything.
Really?
I really do. And the thing is, my whole life has been facing these dangers and testing myself, and I have proved that I could stand for what I mean, and I don't care no more.
Yeah. Because
my life is just what it is. What I want to leave behind is a memory in people's minds, and when they bury me, I want them to show up in the funeral and say, gee, that son of a bitch is dead. Good.
LeVay had a similar thing that he said. He said, I cannot die because I know that if I did die, it would bring so many people that I despise so much joy, I simply refuse to do it.
And the Bible also said, how great are you is by how great your enemies are.
Yeah, well, and I was just reading an essay today, actually, by LeVay. I was rereading it, and he says, you need to pick your enemies. Now, it says in the Satanic Bible, blessed is he that has a sprinkling of enemies, for they shall make him a hero. And I love that, by the way. That's true satanic philosophy. But I was reading an essay where he says you should pick your enemies the same way, with the same care that you would use to pick out a friend or a car or a household appliance. You know, make sure that having that enemy will do you some good, you know, and it's an interesting way to look at it. And most people would never consider having enemies a good thing. Well, it is. It makes you stronger. Gives you something to stand for. I mean, it gives you more of a sense of self because you can point at the enemy and say, that is something I am not, you know?
Most people don't want, they will admit they have no enemies, but they have enemies, but they won't admit it.
And not only that, but they fail to admit that it brings them joy. I mean, how many times have I gone over some friend's house, you know, and they have some of their friends over, and what do they all start doing as soon as we all get together? They're gossiping about whoever's not there. It brings them joy because they get to in the company of people that they feel are like them, they get to say, ooh, well, I'm glad so-and-so didn't show up. Can you believe she blah, 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 blah? Yeah. And in doing so, they're polishing up their little good guy badge.
Their own little badge.
Yeah.
And they don't have the courage to face the person and tell them to a face.
Yeah. Now, how much joy do you get when you're talking to me and you're bitching about a district judge or a lawyer?
I'm just venting.
I know, but doesn't it make you feel good to have enemies? Doesn't it make you feel good to
I'm alive,
to battle and
right,
have them back on their heels, or
maybe
you're back on your heels and you have to come up with a new strategy. You know, it's
the brain still think what you want.
It's vital. It's vital. It's vital existence.
You got to have something in your life to feed you.
Yeah.
And this feeds
fucking
me.
A, man.
And if you don't feed yourself, then you're dead meat.
Yeah.
Like a dead brain.
Yeah. And listen, man, it's great to have friends and it's great to have fun and it's great to enjoy yourself. But let's admit, having enemies sometimes is a lot of fun, and it's a huge factor in enjoying life, I think. And anybody who doesn't feel that way, I'd say, you might be lying to yourself. Maybe.
Like Flip Wilson used to say, what you see is what you get. He's an old comedian from the 80s.
Okay. What you see is what you get.
But like I said, the proof is in the pudding. I'm still here. They haven't taken me away yet. Ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
Well, if it was a different time, a different place, a different country, I would be definitely be gone.
Oh yeah, you'd never make it in China.
If I was in Ukraine, I would be gone.
Yeah,
if I was
maybe.
in Russia, China, any of those third world countries, because where is he? Well, he disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we're both very lucky to have been born in the United States for all of its flaws. It's probably one of the most forgiving places for eccentricity, for unique people. That it doesn't matter how different you are from the herd, you can still be successful. You still can have a purpose. You still can find a place.
Well, you lived down in Lancaster and around the Amos people.
Yeah, for a while.
Their lifestyle is totally, I wouldn't say they're backward.
I would.
No.
Let's call a spade a spade. I mean, let's be honest, Harry. They don't even have fucking buttons.
Yeah, well, we know, but they're happy with their life the way it is. They're stuck in the time warp, like the Jews are stuck in their religion, like the Catholics are stuck in their religion.
Oh, and everybody is God's chosen people. Nobody who's religious thinks that they're not God's chosen people.
Well, we are what we are, and if the world don't like us, too bad. That's what we are.
Well, I think with everything that's going on right now with our political climate, and I've already said, we've basically traded out one pseudo-religious ideology, which we'll call wokeanity. I like that, because it doesn't ring. Wokeanity. We've traded it for another pseudo-religious ideology, which is going to be Republican type of Christianity. And I got to tell you, I thought that wokeanity and the fractioning, the splitting of social cohesion was actually going to be of a tremendous evolutionary benefit to people in society.
It's a growth process.
I thought that if it continued, you're gonna have to look inside yourself for your way, because the goalposts keep moving. You no longer have a mommy or a daddy to rush off to and say, hey, listen, am I still good? Is this good? Am I good? Is he good or is he bad? Because the goalposts kept moving. There's no deified, dogmatic, that's a good word, dogmatic standard. Now with Christianity, even Republican Christianity, which is very different from actual Christianity or biblical Christianity, even farther so, they do have a dogmatic standard. So we're going to have some social cohesion brought back into the zeitgeist. Now, that's going to be better for society as a whole, but groups are made up of individuals. I don't think that's good for individuals. But I'm going to say this. As a Satanist, it's way more fun living in a Christian country than it is a woke country, because you know exactly how people see you, and you just pull those strings, and it's like fucking dance, puppets dance.
Yeah, who's in control now?
And then, about choosing your enemies with care. Oh, it's like too easy, dude. It's too easy. Like all you have to do is go look at Bob Larson interviews from the 80s and the 90s where he's interviewing Church of Satan members. And it's so obvious that these Church of Satan members are just having a blast being on his show. You know what I mean? It's amazing.
A form of confrontation.
I'm looking forward to it. I think we need to get back to being a Christian nation because I have more fun that way. I have a lot more fun.
So-called Christian nation.
Oh, strictly so-called.
So-called without knowing the foundation.
Well, like I said, Republican Christianity. I mean, Republican Christianity is basically a mix between Ayn Rand and Jesus Christ if he was a CEO. That's very different from American Christianity, which is what everybody thinks Christianity is. Like where it says the lion will lay down with the lamb and, God wants me to be happy. All of that shit's not in the Bible, by the way. Those are more things I was going to pull up. And that's very different from biblical Christianity, where Jesus Christ himself says, bring my enemies to me and slay them before me. So it's all different versions of Christianity. Everybody's God is already different. Everybody has, because people are unique. So you can't have an objective deification by which to measure yourself, because everybody's interpretation of what God is and what God wants is going to be unique to them, and it's always going to be in the means of serving their own interests. Always.
Well, you got weak-minded people that rather follow than to lead.
The funny thing is, they want to feel like they're being told what to do, but they're still just doing what they want. And they're just making excuses for it afterward. I wish people could be just a little more honest. Like when you asked me, why do I drink? What was my answer?
Because you like it.
Because it feels good.
Why you smoke? You like it.
I like it.
Right. And that's the honest answer.
That's the honest answer. Should I do these things for my health? No, they're bad for my health, but I like it.
You know that.
I know that.
But
I'm well aware.
You could give an honest answer.
Yeah.
Some people will give you all kinds of excuses.
Yeah.
They drink sociably. Oh, only on the weekend when my friends are over. No, admit that you like to drink.
Yeah. Hey, you talk to a religious person, they can never admit that they're wrong or they did a bad thing. They always have an excuse. I mean, my favorite excuse when somebody is just blatantly disregarding the rules of the Bible, but they claim to be a Christian.
Yeah.
My favorite excuse is God wants me to be happy. What a lazy, self-righteous, myopic, shitty little point of view excuse to fucking have.
What makes you happy?
Oh, whatever makes me happy is what God wants. But that's what God wants for me.
Yeah, but people don't admit their true nature.
Right.
You say somebody's got a job, and they say, do you like your job? Yeah, I love my job. But they don't like their job. They would rather do something else.
Oh, of course. But
they're afraid.
They try to convince themselves.
They're afraid to cross the line and do what they really want to do because they're afraid to fail.
Mm-hmm.
But failure is a growth.
Failure is part of a learning process. 100%. You can't be afraid of it. Otherwise, you're never going to do anything.
People want a job. They want to work all their life. They want to retire on Social Security. They want to take trips. And they want to live a real safe life. Well, do something that you really want to do that takes a little risk.
Sure. And you know what? When you do fuck up, how about you just take responsibility for it?
I screwed up.
Yeah. How hard is that? And if you wrong somebody, you apologize. But only apologize if you mean it.
Yeah.
If you're going to keep... This is why I stopped apologizing for my bad behavior when I got drunk, because I realized I wasn't going to stop drinking.
Right.
So why apologize?
Why make an excuse for it?
Yeah. All right. So, I don't fucking hang out with me anymore. And a lot of people took me at my word. So that's why I don't have any friends, because I was difficult to be around.
You get rid of negative people that are toxic to you, and you don't do that.
Oh, I was the toxic person. I was the toxic person. It was me.
Like you stop talking to someone, and they don't hear you from you years. Why aren't they talking to me no more? Because I don't want to hear your bullshit. I don't want to hear your lies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. There's a story about a guy who just got sick of humanity, and he's walking down the street, and finally, somebody's trying to get his attention, so they get in his face and they shout at him. They say, "Hey, are you deaf?" He looks at him, he goes, "No, I'm just tired of listening."
Right. Life is like getting on a wild river in a boat, and you're riding down the river, and you realize the water is more powerful than you are. And you have to get in your mind, what I have to do to survive this river. And you got to get creative. You got to understand what you're into, and if you survive it, you learn something.
I think you have to chase your passions, and you can't let fear get in your way. And honestly, if you're afraid, it's probably a good sign that you're on the right track. Because if you're afraid, it means it's important to you. If it wasn't important to you, you would not be afraid.
It's of great value.
Exactly.
Like, I like to see you get back in your painting.
Yeah, I'm working on it, man. It's gonna take a little bit, but I am painting, but we'll see. The portrait thing, we'll see if that takes off. I did it before. I'm sure I can do it again.
You could do it again.
Yeah, I'm somebody that needs to work for themselves. I can't have a boss.
You can't work for anybody else.
It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But on that note, maybe we'll drop it here, and what's the proper answer, Harry? Why are you drinking so much absinthe lately?
Because I got a taste for it now.
At least you didn't say the devil made me do it.
No, I happen to like the taste of the licorice and the birch beer.
Yeah.
And the alcohol content, you mix it 4-1, and it's not a powerful thing like drinking straight vodka.
Yeah.
But you know what? I haven't seen the fairy yet.
Well, in case...
But we got another bottle there.
We do have another bottle.
And if we do that, I may do a full shot.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you wanna have a glass of absinthe, I will join you. You want me to join you for a glass?
Not yet. Not
okay.
Yet.
I was gonna say we could record the ritual, but
okay. Yeah, okay. Maybe in the next one.
Maybe in the next one.
And then we'll see a shot, and we'll see if it's as potent as your coffee.
No, I'm not doing a shot. I'm gonna put it with the water, man. I'm not doing. I've never done a shot of straight absinthe. I don't think I want.
You don't?
No.
Well, I took shots of straight vodka, and some of it was bad, and some of it was good. But you know what? There's only 1 or 2 shots, and that I got wiped out.
Yeah. Well, you're a lightweight though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't drink a lot. So in case anybody's watching this is worried about you and my bad influence upon you, which I've already been accused of as the Great White Huntress, because Christians and Messianic Jews don't believe in personal responsibility. There always has to be an evil influence that makes people do bad things. I tasted it. It's almost entirely soda. So relax. But anyway, I think that's about good. You have anything else you want to say before we sign off, Harry?
Oh, let's watch for the next 6 months and see where we go. Let's go for the ride.
It's definitely a spectacle. I mean, Trump is doing like a press conference once a day. It's gotten to the point where I don't watch anymore. It's taken over my life. It's too
like
entertaining.
A comedian going on the stage every night in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it really is. It's so entertaining. Like, I was becoming obsessed with it. I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not getting any work done. I'm not living my life. There's other things I want to do. So I just had to shut it off.
So now maybe the New World Order, we're going to get you.
The New World Order.
Okay, hey, please subscribe to us.
Yeah.
Send us comments. We need your comments. We need ideas from you. And thank you for the 11 hits I got on Survival Network that we put out there. We had 11 in one day.
Well, Harry, we actually did get a few comments recently, but I like to go over those in the beginning of the show so that, because a lot of people don't last through the whole thing. So Remind me next time we record, and we'll start off the show going over comments. That's always fun.
At least we don't have. This is not a silly one. This is a serious one. People, if you're a Christian, please wake up and listen to what we're telling you, because we are telling you the truth. And if you don't like the truth, I can't help you.
Or don't.
Don't.
It's a free country. Anyway, Harry, thank you very much for being with me, and thank you for watching the New World Order broadcast. And just remember, we're watching you too.
Someone is watching. There are strangers.